In this video, you will see the whole truth about Austin Reeves' speculations for other teams, but first leave your like and subscribe to the channel. By the summer of 2025, the Los Angeles Lakers stood at a crossroads that felt both familiar and unprecedented. The franchise, with its storied legacy of championship banners and star-driven rosters, had just endured another season that fell short of its ultimate goal. The pieces on the board were compelling. LeBron James, still remarkably productive as he entered his 22nd NBA season. Luka Dončić, freshly secured through a major contract extension and poised to take on the mantle of franchise centerpiece. And Anthony Davis, whose exit earlier in the offseason had shifted the balance of the team's strengths and weaknesses. This was no ordinary summer. The Lakers' front office had made aggressive moves to stay competitive, bringing in DeAndre Ayton to bolster the front court, hiring a new head of strength and conditioning to safeguard against injuries, and even revisiting the franchise's visual identity with the revival of their California Dream uniforms. Yet for all these changes, one player's name kept surfacing in conversations both inside and outside the organization: Austin Reeves. Reeves had built a reputation as more than just a role player. Undrafted in 2021, he had carved out a place in the Lakers' rotation through intelligence, grit, and an ability to perform in high-leverage moments. His efficient scoring, secondary playmaking, and willingness to guard tough assignments made him a fan favorite and, crucially, a trade chip of real value across the league. His contract, team-friendly given his production, only amplified that appeal. But the 2025 NBA was a league in flux. Salary caps had risen under the new broadcast deal, making star players even more expensive. Teams were constantly recalibrating their rosters in response to shifting superteam dynamics, and positional scarcity, especially at the center spot, had become a defining feature of trade markets. The Lakers, despite their talent on the perimeter with Dončić and James, were aware of gaps in rim protection, interior rebounding, and post-scoring. That's where Reeves entered the conversation. The front office's position was reportedly clear. They would not move him for anything less than a top-tier big, the kind of player who could alter the paint on both ends of the floor. In practical terms, that meant all-star caliber centers or rising talents with elite defensive profiles. The reasoning was straightforward. Reeves's departure would leave a hole in their perimeter stability, so the incoming piece had to address a more pressing need and elevate the team's title odds. Meanwhile, the fan base was split. Many saw Reeves as emblematic of the Lakers' ability to develop talent outside the draft lottery, a rare homegrown success story in a franchise often defined by blockbuster acquisitions. Others believed that sentimentality had no place when a championship window was open, and that leveraging Reeves in the right deal could provide the missing piece for a deep playoff run. Social media polls reflected that division, with a slim majority leaning toward exploring trade scenarios, provided they yielded a high-impact return. League-wide, executives were paying attention. Teams with depth at center but lacking backcourt. Versatility saw Reeves as an ideal fit, someone who could handle the ball, hit open threes, and defend competently without demanding star-level touches. Sacramento, Utah, Portland, Miami, all franchises rumored in the broader NBA chatter, had the kinds of players the Lakers might covet. But rumor mills and actual trade negotiations are two very different arenas, and by August 2025, no official offers had materialized that met Los Angeles's high threshold. Inside the Lakers' practice facility, the tone was calm but deliberate. The coaching staff valued Reeves's familiarity with the system, his chemistry with Dončić and James, and his ability to keep the offense flowing when stars rested. Yet the front office, charged with thinking beyond sentiment, knew the Western Conference was as competitive as ever. Denver's championship core remained intact. Golden State was retooling around Stephen Curry's final prime years, and up-and-coming squads like Oklahoma City were beginning to challenge the old guard. This tension, between loyalty to a proven contributor and the relentless pursuit of improvement, would define much of the Lakers' off-season discourse. And as the summer deepened into August, the question became unavoidable. Was Austin Reaves part of the Lakers' best possible roster or the means to build it? The story of Austin Reeves' standing in the NBA by 2025 is inseparable from the unlikely path that brought him there. In a league obsessed with pedigree, lottery picks, blue-chip college recruits, international prodigies, Reeves entered as none of those. His name went uncalled in the 2021 NBA draft. For many players, that is the end of the story. For Reeves, it was just the prologue. Coming out of the University of Oklahoma, he was known as a versatile guard with a high basketball IQ, capable of creating his own shot and reading defenses with veteran-like patience. What he lacked in elite athleticism, he compensated for with craft, timing, and an ability to adapt to the flow of a game. That adaptability would prove to be the foundation of his professional survival. The Lakers signed him to a two-way contract, a modest, low-risk commitment from the team's perspective. But Reeves quickly made himself impossible to ignore. His rookie season featured flashes of poise uncommon for a first-year player. He didn't simply execute plays, he understood why they were being run. He knew when to cut, when to relocate for a catch-and-shoot opportunity, and when to feed a teammate rather than force a contested look. By his second season, Reeves had cemented himself as a rotation staple. His usage rose, and so did his efficiency. Coaches trusted him to handle the ball alongside LeBron James, absorbing secondary playmaking duties that allowed James to preserve energy. In the playoffs, his ability to hit big shots under pressure, most memorably in a first-round series against Memphis, elevated him from useful role player to someone opposing teams had to game plan against. The summer of 2023 brought his first significant contract, a 4-year deal that many analysts considered one of the league's best value signings. While stars commanded max contracts, Reeves's deal was structured in a way that gave the Lakers production well above his pay grade. That contract became a key part of the 2025 trade conversation. It made him not only productive, but also financially attractive to teams looking to maximize roster flexibility. Over the next 2 seasons, Reeves refined his game further. His three-point percentage climbed into the high 30s, his assist numbers improved, and his foul-drawing craft gave the Lakers a steady source of points when the offense bogged down. Defensively, while not a lockdown specialist, he proved capable of holding his own against multiple positions, using positioning and anticipation to offset physical mismatches. By the time Luka Dončić arrived in Los Angeles, Reeves had already established on-court chemistry with a variety of playstyles. With Dončić's ball dominance, Reeves adapted again, spacing the floor, cutting into open lanes, and serving as a safety valve when defenses overloaded on the superstar. His willingness to adjust without complaint earned him praise from coaches and teammates alike. All of this contributed to his 2025 trade value. Around the league, general managers saw a player who could fit in almost any system without demanding touches or disrupting a hierarchy. In an NBA where team building is often a balancing act between stars and glue guys, Reeves was the kind of player that could tilt the balance toward winning. His age, still in his mid-20s, meant his prime years were ahead, and his durability had become another selling point in a league plagued by load management and injuries. Yet paradoxically, these same qualities made him hard for the Lakers to part with. In an offseason where they were already managing major roster changes, the idea of losing a player who could seamlessly mesh with both LeBron and Dončić was daunting. His value was undeniable, but so was his utility in keeping the Lakers' offensive and defensive schemes coherent. The irony of Reeves' situation in 2025 is that the very traits that made him an appealing trade target also made him indispensable to the Lakers' current plans. Every rumor that placed him in a package for a top-tier center came with an unspoken cost, the loss of the kind of role-player championship teams often regret trading away. As August wore on, it was clear that understanding Reeves' journey from undrafted rookie to a core rotation piece on a title contender, was essential to understanding why his name was both at the center of trade rumors and on the list of players the Lakers least wanted to lose. By August 2025, the Los Angeles Lakers' trade philosophy surrounding Austin Reaves had been distilled into a single, unambiguous condition. They would not move him unless the return was a top-tier big man. This wasn't mere public posturing. It reflected a calculated understanding of the team's roster strengths, weaknesses, and the competitive realities of the Western Conference. The Lakers had just reshaped their identity in notable ways. Luka Dončić's arrival had shifted the offensive gravity heavily toward the perimeter. LeBron James, while still capable of elite playmaking, was no longer the primary engine for every possession. DeAndre Ayton's addition addressed part of the interior equation, but Ayton was better known for his finesse than for being a dominant rim protector or an overpowering physical presence. Anthony Davis, whose versatility had anchored both the offense and defense, was now gone, leaving a void the Lakers could not ignore. Internally, the coaching staff and front office shared a rare point of consensus. If they were to risk breaking up the core chemistry, the incoming player had to dramatically raise their ceiling. In practical terms, that meant an all-star-level center or a young, ascending big with elite defensive metrics and room to grow into a franchise pillar. This condition effectively narrowed the market. Around the league, there were only a handful of big men who fit the profile. Some, like Nikola Jokic or Joel Embiid, were untouchable in any realistic scenario. Others, such as Bam Adebayo or Nick Claxton, could be theoretically available under the right circumstances, but their teams would demand king's ransoms. The Lakers' willingness to offer Reaves was a significant starting point, but it was far from enough to close a deal for a player of that caliber without additional assets, draft picks, prospects, or salary fillers. The logic behind the top-tier, big demand was rooted in matchups. The 2024-25 season had exposed a vulnerability against teams with elite interior presence. Denver had repeatedly punished Los Angeles in the paint. Minnesota's twin towers of Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert had caused mismatches the Lakers struggled to solve. Even playoff hopefuls like Memphis and Oklahoma City boasted young bigs with the length and athleticism to disrupt Dončić's drives and clog passing lanes. Trading Reaves for a wing, guard, or mid-level center would have been a lateral move, at best, and potentially a downgrade. The Lakers were not looking to shuffle the deck. They were seeking a game-changer who could anchor the defense, clean the glass, and open new offensive options. From their perspective, anything less would undermine the championship push. Still, the specificity of the demand had a side effect. It slowed negotiations. Other teams valued Reaves but balked at sending back their premium frontcourt players. Many potential trade partners simply didn't have a big man who fit the Lakers' definition of top tier. For some executives, the Lakers' stance felt like a polite way of saying no to most offers without outright closing the door. Behind closed doors, there were debates within the Lakers' decision-making group. Some argued that setting the bar so high meant the team might miss an opportunity to address multiple needs with a more balanced return. Perhaps a solid starting center paired with a sharpshooter or defensive specialist. Others believed that lowering the standard would invite mediocrity and waste the unique window of having both Dončić and James on the roster. Meanwhile, Reaves himself remained outwardly unfazed. His public comments suggested a player committed to the team, whether or not trade chatter swirled in the background. Teammates echoed that sentiment, noting that he continued to practice and prepare as if he would be wearing purple and gold on opening night. As August progressed, it became increasingly clear that the top-tier big condition was less of a negotiating tactic and more of a line in the sand. The Lakers were prepared to ride into the season with Reaves still in the fold, unless a rare, high-impact opportunity emerged. In a league where patience can be as powerful as boldness, Los Angeles was betting that holding their ground now would lead to the right deal later, or perhaps no deal at all, which might be the best outcome. In the swirl of NBA rumor season, not all whispers are created equal. By August 2025, several teams had been repeatedly linked, whether through sourced reporting, speculative analysis, or fan-driven trade machines, to Austin Reeves and the Los Angeles Lakers. While the front office's top-tier big condition narrowed the field, the rumor mill remained busy, painting a map of possible destinations. Some scenarios felt grounded in reality. Others were little more than wishful thinking. Sacramento Kings. Perhaps the most discussed rumor involved the Sacramento Kings. The talk centered on a package that could include Keegan Murray and Keon Ellis, both promising young players with very different profiles. Murray, a versatile forward with scoring touch and defensive length, represented the kind of floor-spacing big wing the Lakers could use. Ellis, known for his defensive instincts, could add depth on the perimeter. On paper, this deal didn't meet the top-tier big standard. Neither Murray nor Ellis is a true center, but the value proposition tempted some fans. The drawback? Trading Reeves for two players without solving the Lakers' interior issues risked redundancy rather than resolution. Utah Jazz potential involvement hinged on their young front-court duo, particularly Walker Kessler. A defensive anchor. With elite shot-blocking instincts, Kessler fit the Lakers' criteria more closely. Hypothetical packages often paired him with guard Colin Sexton, offering both rim protection and scoring punch. The obstacle was Utah's own long-term plans. Kessler's age and team-friendly contract made him central to their rebuild, and prying him away would require far more than Reeves alone. Miami Heat. The Heat's name surfaced largely due to Bam Adebayo's fit with the Lakers. Adebayo is exactly the sort of versatile, switchable big who could transform Los Angeles' defense. But the path to acquiring him bordered on the implausible. Miami would need overwhelming motivation to move a franchise cornerstone, and the likely cost, Reeves, plus multiple rotation players and premium draft capital, could strip the Lakers of their depth. While fun to imagine Dončić, James, and Adebayo sharing the court, the reality was that neither side had shown real movement toward such a blockbuster. Portland Trail Blazers' Portland's connection was tied to DeAndre Ayton before he ultimately joined the Lakers. Once Ayton was in purple and gold, any Portland-based rumor lost its relevance. Still, earlier speculation suggested that Ayton's combination of size, touch, and mobility had made him a target for the Lakers, with Reeves floated as part of the asking price. The eventual signing of Ayton without sacrificing Reeves was, for Los Angeles, a win in both roster construction and asset preservation. Detroit Pistons. Detroit's inclusion in the rumor circuit came from proposals involving Jaden Ivey. While Ivey's explosive athleticism and developing skill set had appeal, the move would have been a clear deviation from the Lakers' center-first priority. Swapping a reliable two-way guard for a still-developing backcourt scorer didn't align with the team's win-now timeline, making this more of a fan forum exercise than a legitimate negotiation. Across all these scenarios, one truth stood out. The Lakers' stance on Reeves made them difficult trade partners. Most of the rumored packages didn't deliver the centerpiece big man Los Angeles sought. The rare ones that came close, like Utah's Kessler or Miami's Adebayo, would require additional assets that could gut the supporting cast. From a negotiation standpoint, the rumors also served a secondary function. They tested the waters. By allowing certain possibilities to surface publicly, the Lakers could gauge fan reaction, league interest, and the willingness of other front offices to enter serious talks. The strong pushback from portions of the fan base against trading Reeves, especially for anything less than an all-star caliber big, reinforced the wisdom of holding a firm line. Still, rumors have their own gravity in the NBA, even without concrete traction. Their repetition can alter perceptions. For Reeves, hearing his name tied to multiple franchises, even in hypothetical contexts, underscored both his value and his vulnerability. For the Lakers, each destination on the rumor list was a reminder that opportunities exist, but only if they can find the elusive trade that improves the roster without sacrificing its soul. In Los Angeles, the bond between the Lakers and their fans is not just about basketball, it's about identity. Generations of supporters have been conditioned to expect championships, not just playoff appearances. This high standard colors every roster decision, and in 2025, Austin Reaves became a litmus test for how fans balance sentiment and ambition. When Reaves first emerged as a rotation player, the fan response was near unanimous admiration. His underdog origin story resonated in a city accustomed to glitz, but appreciative of grit. His playoff performances cemented him as a crowd favorite, the kind of player who could swing momentum with a timely three-pointer or a smart defensive rotation. For many, he was a symbol that the Lakers could still unearth hidden gems without spending max-level money. But by the summer of 2025, admiration had evolved into a debate. Polls conducted by local outlets and fan-driven platforms showed a slim majority leaning toward the idea of exploring a trade, but only under specific conditions. Roughly 6 out of 10 respondents indicated they would support moving Reaves if it meant landing a genuine difference-maker in the front court. The rest saw such a move as unnecessary risk. For the pro-trade camp, the logic was straightforward. The Lakers' window is now. LeBron James, even in his remarkable late career, won't be playing at this level forever. Luka Dončić's prime years are too valuable to spend on incremental roster tweaks. If moving Reaves could secure a top-tier big who addresses the team's most glaring weakness, the sacrifice might be justified. These fans pointed to past championship runs where difficult trades, ones involving popular players, paid off with parades down Figueroa Street. The anti-trade camp countered with an equally compelling argument. Reaves, they noted, is not merely a statistical contributor. He's a glue guy who enhances the play of stars without needing the ball in his hands. In a league where chemistry can make or break a season, replacing his steady hand with an unknown quantity could backfire. They also warned against overpaying for a name big whose actual impact might not justify the cost, recalling painful lessons from past acquisitions that disrupted balance without delivering results. Social media amplified both sides. On game nights, highlight clips of Reeves's hustle plays fueled calls to keep him at all costs. On trade rumor days, threads dissected hypothetical deals, weighing potential lineups with newly acquired stars. In between, there was a shared undercurrent of anxiety, the understanding that no matter what the front office decided, the move would be judged through the unforgiving lens of playoff performance. Interestingly, the split in opinion wasn't always aligned with age or tenure of fandom. Younger fans who had grown up in the post-Kobe era were sometimes more willing to trade Reaves, having experienced fewer long-term emotional connections to role players. Older fans, though often loyal to homegrown talent, also remembered the ruthless efficiency of the Showtime and early 2000s Lakers, where beloved contributors were swapped out in pursuit of dominance. The front office, though insulated from daily social media swings, couldn't completely ignore the discourse. In an entertainment market as crowded as Los Angeles, fan sentiment carries weight, not because it dictates basketball strategy, but because it shapes the public narrative around those decisions. A trade that alienates a significant portion of the fan base has to deliver results quickly to be deemed successful. By mid-August, the public divide had crystallized. Pro-trade, seize the moment, fill the biggest need, and trust the stars to lead. Pro-keep, value continuity, trust in development, and avoid chasing short-term fixes. Both sides were united by one truth. They wanted to see the Lakers contend for a title. The disagreement was over the path to get there, and whether Austin Reeves was a vehicle for that journey or an essential passenger who couldn't be left behind. When an NBA trade rumor catches fire in the public sphere, it's easy to imagine Decisions being made in heated, impulsive meetings, names tossed around, big calls made on a whim. The reality, especially for a franchise like the Los Angeles Lakers, is far more structured. By the summer of 2025, the question of whether to trade Austin Reeves had gone through a process that blended analytics, scouting insight, financial modeling, and the delicate art of locker room chemistry assessment. Scouting and performance evaluation, it starts with the basketball side. Lakers scouts and player development staff evaluate Reeves not just on raw stats, but on film that captures his tendencies, strengths, and areas for improvement. They weigh his efficiency, defensive assignments, and fit alongside Luka Dončić and LeBron James. In Reeves's case, the tape showed a player who thrives in structured chaos, reading defenses on the fly, making quick decisions, and playing without the need for constant touches. This made him a valuable complementary piece, which in turn raised the bar for any potential return. Market assessment. Once the internal value is established, the front office looks outward. General Manager Rob Pelinka and his team compile a list of potential trade partners based on roster needs, available assets, and cap flexibility. In 2025, that meant scanning the league for teams with surplus frontcourt talent and a need for backcourt versatility. They look not just at big names, but at realistic availability. A team might have an all-star center, but if that player is untouchable, they're not on the board. Salary cap and contract mechanics, in modern NBA trades, talent evaluation is only half the battle. The other half is financial. Every potential deal is run through cap simulations to see if the salaries match under league rules, how much tax penalty it triggers, and whether it preserves flexibility for future moves. Reeves's contract, favorable for his production, makes deals easier to structure. But that also means moving him could force the Lakers to take on more expensive, less efficient contracts. Medical and durability considerations. No trade discussion is complete without a medical review. The Lakers' training staff evaluates the injury histories of any incoming players and considers the long-term impact. The team had already invested in improving its health protocols by hiring Jeremy Holsopple as head of strength and conditioning. Bringing in a big man with recurring injury issues would undermine that investment. Locker room fit, talent, and salary aside, the Lakers place significant weight on personality and leadership fit. In a locker room with LeBron's voice, Dončić's star power, and veterans with strong personalities, a new arrival has to complement rather than disrupt the hierarchy. Reeves's easygoing but competitive nature has made him an asset in this regard, and replacing that chemistry isn't as simple as plugging in numbers on a spreadsheet. Ownership's role. While basketball operations handle the nuts and bolts, ownership has the final say on major moves. For a player as popular as Reeves, the Buss family would consider both the competitive implications and the brand implications. They've seen how fan backlash can ripple into public perception, ticket, sales, and even player morale. Timing and leverage. Finally, the Lakers weigh timing. Making a big trade in August before training camp can give a new roster time to gel. Waiting until the trade deadline, however, can reveal which teams become desperate or which players become unexpectedly available. In Reeves's case, holding him into the season also allows Los Angeles to reassess their needs once they see how the Aiton Dončić-LeBron core actually functions. For as long as the Lakers have been a marquee NBA franchise, they've faced the delicate challenge of balancing sentiment with ambition. Trading a beloved player is never easy, but in Los Angeles, where fans form deep bonds with their stars and role players alike, it's particularly fraught. The 2025 discussions around Austin Reeves were not without precedent. The Lakers had been here before, sometimes with triumphant results, sometimes with regrets. Eddie Jones to Charlotte, 1999. Eddie Jones was one of the most popular Lakers of the late 1990s, an all-star shooting guard known for his defense and athleticism. Yet, in March 1999, the team traded him and Eldon Campbell to Charlotte for Glenn Rice, J.R. Reed, and B.J. Armstrong. The move cleared space for Kobe Bryant to step fully into the starting lineup. While some fans were crushed at the time, the decision aligned with a long-term vision that eventually led to 3 straight championships. Lesson: short-term pain can pay off if the talent replacing a fan favorite truly transforms the teams. Ceiling. 2. Vlade Divac for Kobe Bryant, 1996. One of the most famous trades in franchise history saw the Lakers send center Vlade Divac to the Charlotte Hornets for the rights to 17-year-old Kobe Bryant. Divac was a fan favorite for his skill and personality, but the Lakers were eyeing a generational talent. In hindsight, this move defined the next 2 decades of Lakers basketball. Lesson: sometimes you have to gamble on potential over proven production. Norm Nixon for Byron Scott, 1983. Norm Nixon was a critical part of the early Showtime Lakers, but in 1983, Los Angeles traded him to the San Diego Clippers for the rights to rookie Byron Scott. At the time, many saw it as unnecessary since Nixon was still productive. Yet Scott's arrival extended the Showtime era's dominance and meshed perfectly with Magic Johnson's game. Lesson: a younger player who fits your star's timeline can be worth the risk. Shaquille O'Neal to Miami, 2004. This was the opposite case, a superstar leaving under contentious circumstances. Trading Shaq to the Heat for Lamar Odom, Karen, Butler, Brian Grant, and picks was met with shock and anger from parts of the fan base. While the Lakers eventually rebuilt around Kobe, the immediate years after the trade were turbulent. Lesson: even when a deal is inevitable, timing and return value determine how it's remembered. D'Angelo Russell to Brooklyn, 2017. In a move to create cap space for free agency, the Lakers traded a young and promising D'Angelo Russell to the Nets for Brook Lopez and a draft pick, which became Kyle Kuzma. Many fans were skeptical, but the cap room helped facilitate the signing of LeBron James a year later. Lesson: trades sometimes play the long game. Benefits aren't always immediate, connecting the past to the present. These examples show a clear pattern. When the Lakers trade a fan favorite, the public reception hinges on 2 things: the quality of the incoming player and the speed of visible results. In almost every successful case, the replacement either fit seamlessly with existing stars or set up a future move that did. When the replacement failed to deliver quickly, criticism lingered. The Austin Reaves situation mirrors these past crossroads. Like Eddie Jones, he's a popular, productive player whose departure could free up a bigger role for others or bring in a key piece. Like Vlade Divac, moving him could be a calculated risk toward landing a talent who reshapes the franchise's future. And like Shaq's exit, if handled poorly, it could leave a scar that takes years to heal. The Lakers front office knows the stakes. History tells them that fans can forgive the departure of a favorite, but only if the move delivers wins, banners, and moments worthy of the pain. No NBA team makes moves in a vacuum. The trade possibilities for Austin Reaves in 2025 don't just depend on how the Lakers view him, but also on the ecosystem of the league, the salary cap environment, the availability of trade partners, and the competitive pressure from other contenders. August 2025 finds the Lakers navigating one of the most complex trade markets in recent years. The salary cap reality. The NBA's salary cap for the 2025-26 season has risen again due to increased media rights revenue, now sitting at a level that gives most teams a bit more breathing room. But for big spending contenders like the Lakers, the introduction of the second apron, a punitive tax tier, is a real constraint. Crossing it severely limits trade flexibility, including restrictions on aggregating salaries and using certain exceptions. The Lakers are already close to that threshold with LeBron James, Luka Dončić, and DeAndre Ayton on significant contracts. Trading Reaves for a high-salary big man would require careful cap matching and could push them firmly into the second apron, making roster maneuvering harder down the line. Supply and demand for big men. One reason Reeves's name comes up in trade chatter is the Lakers' perceived need for more size and rim protection. However, the league's market for impact centers is tight. True two-way bigs, those who can defend the paint and stretch the floor, are rare, and their teams are often reluctant to move them unless blown away by an offer. In 2025, a handful of names circulate in league chatter, some disgruntled, some just on teams in transition. But the Lakers aren't the only suitors. The Knicks, Mavericks, and Warriors have also been linked to pursuing front-court upgrades, which creates bidding wars. The more teams at the table, the higher the asking price. The competitive pressure. The Western Conference is unforgiving. By August, the Nuggets are still deep, the Thunder have added more young talent, and the Timberwolves are riding momentum from their recent playoff run. The Suns and Clippers remain threats when healthy, and the Spurs' Victor Wembanyama has rapidly accelerated San Antonio's timeline. This competitive density shapes how aggressive the Lakers can afford to be. Standing still risks falling behind, but overpaying in desperation can cripple future flexibility. The Reeves decision, in this light, becomes a balancing act between matching the arms race and protecting long-term viability. Trade partner motivations. Even if the Lakers identify the perfect target, they need a willing partner. Teams in the midst of a rebuild might value Reeves' contract and age, seeing him as a foundational piece. Contenders, however, might be reluctant to trade core front-court talent for a guard, even a productive one, unless they have depth to spare. The front office also has to gauge how other GMs perceive Reeves. His playoff performances and efficient shooting make him appealing, but his ceiling as a secondary or tertiary playmaker rather than a primary star might temper offers. Timing with the trade calendar. The NBA trade cycle has predictable pressure. Points, preseason, the midseason trade deadline, and the summer window before free agency closes. August is a quieter period, which means fewer deals but also less competition. However, waiting until the deadline could mean more players become available, and that other teams' needs shift due to injuries or underperformance. The Lakers' internal calculus is shaped by this timeline. Make a move now, and the roster enters training camp intact. Wait, and they risk starting slow, but gaining better trade options later. External storylines. In the NBA, perception often influences action. A team seen as one piece away might find itself overpaying in the market because sellers know their urgency. The Lakers' public image, fueled by constant national coverage, means their needs are no secret. Rival executives know the front office is under pressure to maximize LeBron's remaining elite years, which can be used against them in negotiations. In 2025, the Lakers' decision-making environment isn't just defined by statistics, salary caps, or fan opinion. It's also shaped by the two superstars at the heart of the franchise, LeBron James and Luka Dončić. Their influence extends far beyond their on-court impact, affecting trade evaluations, player morale, and even the team's strategic direction. Understanding their role is crucial to grasping why Austin Reeves' potential trade is a high-stakes scenario. LeBron's leadership and insight. At age 40, LeBron James continues to be an on-court general and locker room anchor. But his influence off the court is just as substantial. LeBron has cultivated a voice in roster decisions for years, leveraging his deep understanding of player fit, chemistry, and positional needs. While he doesn't make final calls, his assessment of a player's work ethic, attitude, and versatility carries enormous weight. LeBron has long emphasized the value of glue players, those who contribute in ways that don't always appear on stat sheets. Reeves fits this mold, and LeBron's support of him strengthens the argument for keeping him. However, LeBron also understands the importance of maximizing championship windows. if a truly transformative player becomes available, he has historically been willing to embrace changes, even if they disrupt established relationships. Luka's role as the new franchise face Luka Dončić, now in his prime, is not only a statistical superstar, but also a key influencer in team culture. While LeBron represents experience and veteran guidance, Luka represents the future, the emerging leader around whom the next era is built. Luka's perspective on roster construction is increasingly sought by the front office, particularly regarding player fit in pick-and-roll systems, spacing, and defensive schemes. In 2025, Luka has shown a preference for teammates who understand his tendencies, maintain pace, and can handle defensive responsibilities. Reeves' intelligence and off-ball movement make him a natural complement, which adds to his value beyond measurable stats. The front office, translating star input into strategy, General Manager Rob Pelinka and his team must synthesize the perspectives of LeBron, Luka, scouts, and analytics departments. Star input is heavily weighted, but decisions must also be grounded in long-term planning and financial prudence. In essence, the front office acts as a translator, converting qualitative feedback, Reeves works great with Luka, into concrete metrics and trade scenarios. The challenge lies in balancing competing priorities. LeBron may support keeping a high-character role player. Luka may desire more spacing and scoring around him. The front office must reconcile these viewpoints with the cap structure, market availability, and potential trade partners. Player. Influence on trade feasibility. Beyond expressing preferences, stars can also influence whether a trade is feasible. Players like LeBron and Luka often discuss potential teammates with agents, creating informal networks of feedback that rival GMs consider. If both stars support a move, it can smooth negotiations. If either opposes, teams may be reluctant to engage, fearing locker room disruption. Chemistry as a decision driver. One recurring theme is that the Lakers prioritize chemistry. Both LeBron and Luka are invested in maintaining a harmonious environment where role players understand their responsibilities and stars can thrive. A trade that might improve statistical output could be rejected if it threatens cohesion. This is especially relevant for Reeves, whose contributions are subtle yet integral to flow. August 2025 marked a defining moment for the Los Angeles Lakers. The decision regarding Austin Reaves had become more than a simple roster adjustment. It had evolved into a test of strategy, leadership, and legacy. Every angle was scrutinized: internal dynamics, competitive positioning, financial implications, and public perception. In a franchise with a history as storied as the Lakers, even subtle choices can echo for decades. Risk assessment. Beyond the stat sheet, Austin Reeves had proven himself to be a versatile and reliable contributor. His off-ball movement, defensive IQ, and ability to read the game made him more than just a role player. He was a stabilizing presence for LeBron James and Luka Dončić. Trading him could provide a different skill set, but the risks were tangible. Chemistry disruption, a loss of veteran insight, and potential fan backlash were all factors the front office had to weigh against purely statistical evaluation. NBA history offers cautionary tales. Trades like Shaquille O'Neal's departure in 2004 show that even when a deal is strategically justifiable, the impact on culture and fan loyalty can last years. Reeves's case demanded careful consideration to avoid repeating past missteps. Star perspectives. LeBron and Luka, the influence of the team's stars, was pivotal. LeBron's voice, grounded in decades of championship experience, emphasized intangible value, leadership, reliability, and glue contributions that stats don't always capture. Luka, at the peak of his abilities, weighed efficiency, spacing, and offensive synergy, favoring players who complement his play style. Balancing these perspectives was critical. Both stars recognized the importance of maximizing the team's championship window, but they also valued cohesion and trust. A trade that ignored either viewpoint risked alienating a cornerstone of the franchise. Fan and media considerations in Los Angeles, public opinion matters. Social media, sports networks, and local commentary constantly amplify every decision. Any perceived misstep could provoke outrage, erode fan trust, and create additional pressure on the team's leadership. Front office officials recognized that retaining Reeves would signal stability and respect for the fan base, while trading him would require clear justification and communication. Transparency was not optional. It was a strategic necessity. Trade market realities. The wider NBA environment shaped the final call. Offers on the table had to meet multiple criteria: positional need, financial feasibility, and long-term upside. In 2025, elite role players and two-way stars were scarce, and the competition for front-court upgrades was fierce. Even with strong offers, the calculus of risk versus reward favored continuity. The potential gains from a trade were outweighed by the uncertainty of integrating a new piece mid-cycle, both on and off the court. The decision after extensive deliberation, the Lakers' leadership decided to retain Austin Reaves. The choice reflected a commitment to team chemistry, star alignment, and long-term flexibility. Reeves' retention preserved a balanced roster around LeBron and Luka, reinforced locker room stability, and maintained a narrative of thoughtful, strategic management. The decision also reinforced the franchise's legacy principle. Winning is about more than raw talent. It's about context, relationships, and timing. A move that looks optimal on paper may fail in practice if it disrupts these delicate factors. Looking forward, while the Reeves situation reached its conclusion, the Lakers remain vigilant. Monitoring free agency, trade possibilities, and emerging talent ensures that the team remains competitive. By retaining Reeves, the organization strengthened its foundation without closing doors to future moves. This moment exemplifies the balancing act at the core of NBA leadership, weighing risk against reward, valuing star insight, respecting fan sentiment, and safeguarding the franchise's long-term vision. In 2025, the Lakers demonstrated that strategic patience, anchored in both data and human judgment, can preserve legacy while still pursuing championship aspirations.